Hello everybody, in this video you shall be brought through the mechanism and some physics principles behind one of the many designs of a non-ferrous separator machine. I'm Boon Han and my team members are Jun Min, Weldon, Gowtham and Dennis. Now, what is a non-ferrous separator you ask? Yeah, it's really nothing more than your average breakup, but yeah, it has a few extra depths of complexity here and there, but yeah, all in all, it's nothing you really have to be concerned about, really. Yeah, it's really nothing. Let me tell you this. Separators are machines that separate things. So, yeah, I can't really end the video yet, so yeah, here's more content for everyone. Yeah, this machine isn't that simple as you may have thought it is. But yeah, fear not, as our friend, Professor Weldon, with his masters in procrastination, he and his colleagues, Jun Min, Gowtham, Dennis, shall explain this with utmost clarity. Yeah, he has come up with an extraordinary thesis, but yeah, that only took him exactly one day before the deadline to complete. Which, yeah, kinda explains the concept of the separator with social hierarchy metaphors.
Now, the separator might sound really simple at first, but once you dive deeper, you will realize it's like how your parents told you about relationships when you were a kid. It's sort of complicated. Well, not complicated to the point where we can't explain it to you because, we are the autistic, the special ones. Now, without further ado, we shall proceed to penetrate deeper into this matter. So, let me and my team educate you on what separators have to do with romance.
For starters, there are three types of guys and the female, which is the separator. They are the Tin Man, the non-ferrous matter, Iron Man, the ferrous matter, and the Polyman, non-metallic matter. Okay, first off, we'll start with the Tin Man. The first type of guys are the ones who chicken out last minute or get mind controlled by a force known as the mysterious force, or otherwise known as something to do with Faraday's and Lenz's law. These men will fall into the region commonly known as the friend zone. We will come back to something to do with Faraday's and Lenz's law in a minute, so hang on. Another type of males, aka the Iron Man, are the ones that are way too clingy, overprotective, like a mother kind of boyfriend. They tend to stick around longer than the first type of males. Thus, you can say that they do last longer, but they will eventually fall off over time and go into deep crippling depression. Anyways, moving to the next one.
The third type of male, aka the polyman, are those who don't care at all but fall into the right place and the right time anyway. Just like the typical anime main character, they are not attracted or repelled but win the hearts of the ladies anyway, and does not care. They will then proceed to fall under the category of polygamy, hence polyman.
Hey, so back to something to do with Faraday's and Lenz's law. This phenomenon is one of the leading causes of depression caused by a separator. We must first understand the properties of the female to truly comprehend and appreciate the sophisticated and meticulous functions. The female has a unique counterpart that has a cycle that emits an aura, also known as a field. Now, for those who know how to navigate this field, they'll end up just fine. But for those who don't, well, the consequences are tragic. For example, when the male approaches the female at a velocity, they will pass through the field. While passing through, the first type of guy will experience funny feelings that causes his mind to swirl around, while the others are immune to it.
Back to reality. This happens due to Faraday's law of induction. When a conductor passes through the changing magnetic field created by the fast rotating magnet that plays under the conveyor belt, it will change the magnetic flux that results in eddy current created in the material itself, thus producing electromotive force, which we normally call it EMF.
The guardian gets a nervous breakdown and can't control his movement when he tries to oppose the force generated by the field. He will then proceed to involuntarily jump out of the action.
This occurrence is due to another physics principle, which we call it Lenz's law. By Lenz's law, an eddy current also creates a magnetic field that opposes the original changing field that created it, like a child opposing his father. This opposing force thus causes the conductive material, in this case, is the non-ferrous metal become magnetized themselves to get ejected further from the conveyor belt and lengthening its trajectory. This enables us to separate a huge number of non-ferrous metals and their alloys such as aluminium, copper, and brass.
This process keeps on repeating itself until the separation of the metals are clear. Now to answer the question, what is the difference between ferrous and non-ferrous metals? Ferrous metals mostly contain iron, also known as ferrum. Ferrous metals are magnetic and give metal resistance to corrosion. These metals usually can be found from vehicle scrap metal, demolition site scrap metal, and also metal offcast from manufacturing industries. Non-ferrous metals, on the other hand, do not contain iron and are not magnetic, and are also more resistant to corrosion than ferrous metals. For example, non-ferrous metals include aluminium, copper, stainless steel, lead, and zinc. Now we will look into the Faraday's experiment, where Michael Faraday actually discovered the laws of electromagnetic induction. From this diagram, we can actually see that the experiment involves a bar magnet, a coil, and a galvanometer. In the experiment, Faraday uses a magnet and a coil which is connected to the galvanometer across the coil. At the initial time, the magnet is at rest, so there is no deflection in the galvanometer at all. When the magnet is moved towards the coil, the needle of the galvanometer is deflected in one direction. When the magnet is held back at the original point, the reading returns back to zero. When the magnet is moved away from the coil, there is some deflection of the needle but in the opposite direction. And again, when the magnet becomes stationary with respect to the coil, the reading of the galvanometer returns back to zero. It is also observed that the faster the rate of change in magnetic field, the greater the induced voltage or the EMF in the coil will be.
Albert Einstein once said, "The important thing is not to stop questioning." So, we have to ask the question, how could we improve the non-ferrous separator for maximum efficiency? In the recent years, there have been many modifications to the non-ferrous separator to improve its functionality. The first modification is a vibrating conveyor belt. The conveyor belt has been modified to vibrate so that the distribution of materials is even. This makes it easier for the material to be repelled by the eddy current. They have also come up with two separate systems, instead of ferrous metals and non-ferrous metals being separated. That proved to be dangerous as, when ferrous metals are being separated along with non-ferrous metals, the magnet will get heated up very fast, and this results in wear and tear of the conveyor belt at a higher rate. So, they came up with a solution with a separate system where ferrous metals are separated first within the magnetic drum and non-ferrous metals by the conveyor belt. Another modification is the cooling system of the non-ferrous metals operator. When eddy current repels these particles, they tend to heat up by dissipating their energy in the form of heat energy. So, the modification used to cool down the separator by just flowing a cooling agent such as water through a suitable inlet to cool down the separator.
Alright, now we will be talking about the advantage of the non-ferrous metal separator, also known as the eddy current separator. Well, for the first part, the eddy current separator separates metal more precisely and efficient in sorting it out. Due to its strong eddy current power magnets, it can easily trace and separate the non-ferrous metal from other objects. The eddy current separator also holds a special system against possible damages in case of electrical blackout. This is to prevent a sudden stop of the electric field which may cause danger to the surrounding. The eddy current separator also have security systems for the magnet keeping. This is to ensure the safety of the people working around it and to ensure the longer life of the magnet to be sustained. The eddy current separator or the non-ferrous metal also has a minimal and easy maintenance service. This is due to its simple component as they are only magnets. Let's say if the magnets are spoiled, it can easily be replaced and the eddy current separator can be used again. The eddy current separator are also designed to be according to your space and to your output objective and your budget. It can be easily fit into any size you want, so it has a size flexibility. The eddy current separator also drive down the labor cost as it increase the processing capability and profitability by a lot. It has a high efficiency of sorting out the metals. It has also excellent valuable materials as for the spare part of it.
It's me again. So, after so many explanations, let me summarize a few important points we were trying to say. As you may have already known, well, at this point I hope you do know that the separator is basically an automated system to sort out valuable items, which in this case are non-ferrous metals. These metals are from scraps of waste we create, and thus the materials are all jumbled up and are hard to separate manually by hand. Imagine using that method. But enough of the backstory. What we are interested here is in the separating system itself. This can be summed up into 3 parts. The first one for separating ferrous materials. Ferrous materials are actually also ferromagnetic, and thus this means it will basically stick or get attracted to magnets. Therefore, the separation system is pretty straightforward for ferrous materials. They only require a magnet at the end of the conveyor to separate them from the rest. Now, the second part is for separating non-metallic materials like plastic. There's little to no explanation here as they just follow the conveyor belt's velocity and fall into their respective containers. The third part is where the 2 physics principles we have explained work together to let the non-ferrous metal fly up and further from the rest of the materials of the bunch. Thus, this causes it to separate itself through this mechanism automatically. The principles include are Faraday's law, or in other words, electromagnetic induction, and Lenz's law, both working together simultaneously to launch the non-ferrous metal from everyone else. So this sums up the separating system, which only consists of these 3 main parts to separate. So I hope you learned something from this, and thank you.
So yeah, this is the end of the video because we don't want to make it more depressing than it already is.